Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the Fortitude Leadership Summit, helping youth understand how to overcome adversity. As you all know, I lost my son, Damani Gibson, 2 years ago, suddenly without warning. And one of the shirts that he had on in the last picture we took together said, "Use the pain" on it. It was a quote from an Eric Thomas video. And I remember in my darkest days just seeing that picture when I wanted to give up. And all I could hear was the statement, "Use the pain, use the pain." And it helped me dig deep in myself and find a way to get up out the bed and to keep going. And I want to thank Eric Thomas for the impact that he's had on youth for decades now, that he had on my own son, for that message to come loud and clear to me. And I look around right now, and in the last week, I can count, I'll run out of fingers with how many youth have been passing away that we know personally. And life is short. And yes, we all have pain. We all have pain, but we have to find a way to use that pain and continue to find our reason, our why in life. So this is Mr. Find Your Why, Use Your Why, Use the Pain, Mr. Eric Thomas, the #1 motivational speaker in the world who has impacted millions of people across the world. And today he is blessing us with his presence and his message about fortitude and using the pain.
Good. Thank you so much, first and foremost. Not necessarily for the intro, but for actually applying, those deep messages that I give. I tell people all the time, hearing it is one thing, finding the resolve to actually use it. We know so many individuals who experience pain and they let it break them, and look, let's just be honest. We don't judge those people that it breaks. We clearly understand, given the right circumstances, the right time, it could break us, but for those of us who find a way to bring life out of pain and out of death, we're needed. Okay. We're needed because there are a lot of people who, if we don't get through, they're not getting through, so I want to just celebrate the fact that you're able to take this situation and create this from that. And to your point, so many people are going to be blessed, not only from my message, but from you setting up this situation. Because had you not set it up, I promise you I wouldn't have done it. And as I read through what my responsibility was today, I said to myself, I've never done anything like this before. I'm saying? Like, I've never been asked to answer these questions. I'm saying? Like, nobody's ever asked me to expound on these realities. Most of the time it's whatever people want me to talk about. It's not how do we get through death, and how do we get through, the trials and the tribulations. So I honor you today. And as I mentioned earlier, you in the background, it's a whole nother level of beauty now, because of you being able to be, like you don't look like what you've been through. Right. And people need to understand that's a whole nother level of courage. That's a whole nother level of strength and tenacity, because we can look at some people and we can see the trials and the tribulation. We can see it on them. What I'm saying? I promise you, girl, I can't see it on you at all. God is good and worthy to be praised. And so we thank God for your strength. We thank God for the vision that you have, and we're going to do our part to contribute to that vision and help you help not just mothers, and not just women, but humans, be able to get through this. So I want to start first because you asked the question then about, athletes, who are, who've experienced this, who have been a part of teams, have been, a part of communities where unexpectedly and sometimes expectantly they've lost, loved ones. I think while it may be easier to understand when you lose somebody of cancer or something, it still doesn't make it any easier to when we experience loss. To your point, I just left a funeral in Huntsville, Alabama, and he was one of my high school students And I'm talking about he had changed his life, was doing some phenomenal stuff, ended up going to jail for 3 years over some stuff he did way back when, had only been out like literally a year, and got into a car accident, and when you talk about unexpected, but he had gotten married and they were traveling the world, and he was just about to take his daughter to Disney World. And for somebody that had been through as much as he had been through, he had just taken it and just like a wave or, a surfboard. He was just surfing on all his challenges, and then wake up, car accident, a solo car accident, just himself. And so I had to go to the funeral, and I'm just thinking, wow, I'm burying people so much younger than me, So I want to say to those, first and foremost, who've experienced loss, one of the things that we have to do is we have to find the life and the joy in the loss, right? You have options. You really do. And I know it seems that we don't have options. It seems that, okay, tragedy happens. We have to respond to it like that way. And we don't. Maya Angelou said, like dust I rise, and our ancestors had experienced so much loss at the hands of, their slave masters. And so when you read those articles and those poems, listen to those songs of days of old, like they were literally COVID-19, like they were living that every day. Somebody could just come and take your life. You on a plantation, they could just take your life, take your child, whatever, and so as you listen to them, what our ancestors taught us is that, we can be strong even in these circumstances, and so the first thing I want to say to those of you who are listening is that, believe it or not, we have a choice. Like we literally have a choice. And even though it doesn't seem like it, we have a choice and we can choose. So before all this COVID-19 stuff, my grandmother had 14 children, and 5 of them died over the span of probably about 8 to 10 years with cancer. And so we don't know. We're thinking that it must have been, the environment, the home that they lived in, in Chicago, right? But imagine, 1 year your aunt dies, and then another 2 years later, another aunt, and then another one, and so I'm, young in college during this time, my early 20s, my mom freaking out, my other older aunts freaking out. It's like, man, are we next? And they're going to doctor's appointments, whatever. And so, guys, I literally remember for the first time in my life, my oldest aunt passed, and then it got real scary because at first they were thinking, well, maybe it was their fathers. Like they don't all have the same fathers, like groups of them, right? And so then my oldest aunt died, and my mom has the same father. And I remember going to the funeral. I've never seen my mother cry like that before. Like I had never seen my mom, in that kind of pain before, and, as a young man, I was just like, wow, like, what do I do? And I heard a still small voice say, your mother's in pain. Don't contribute to her pain. Don't add to her pain. You have a choice, son. And right now I need you to choose to be strong. Like I need you to choose to be strong for your mother. Right. And I remember my mother not just crying because here's like the 5th or maybe even the 6th, but I remember my mom crying like, okay, it's going to hit us all, like, and one thing about death is that it helps you to understand how fragile we are as humans. Life is fragile, right? And so I'm looking at my mom as fragile when my mom has always been Wonder Woman. So the first thing I want, you guys to understand is that we have a choice, and we have to choose to be strong. Why? Because the outcomes are different when we're strong than when we choose. Now, understand, when I say strong, I don't mean that we don't acknowledge and we don't feel, the pain. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying we don't cry. I'm not saying that we don't feel vulnerable. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying we don't allow the vulnerability to break us. We allow the vulnerability to build us, is what I'm saying. We don't allow the fact that we've had loss to make us go, I'm going to give up, I'm going to quit, there's no hope, there's no whatever. No, we don't do that. We go, what good is there in this? What memories can we talk about? How can my aunts continue to live? And so I've made up in my mind that every forum like this, I'm talking about my auntie Wanda. I'm talking about, you know, my aunt Glenda, right? I'm talking every opportunity that I get around this, you know, my aunt Debbie. I'm going to the twins. I'm going to every single time. I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to remember them. I'm going to express them like they're not going to be lost. Even though they're not physically with us anymore, they're not going to be lost. I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up. And then I'm going to help fight cancer, right? And then I'm going to help, you know, young men like me who were raised by females to value them, to tell them, look, take your auntie out to dinner, call your aunt. And I'm just being honest. I may have taken my aunts being around forever for granted, and I probably wouldn't do these things if they were all here. But because I started losing them, I was like, whoa, this is not a guarantee, right? So again, one of the things I want you guys to do is I want you to prepare yourself, because the one thing that's guaranteed about life is death, right? I want you to know that it's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us. It happens to some of us before it happens to others. So some of us are alive to experience it, but one day people are going to be mourning for us. People are going to be like, especially in our communities, you know, we don't have certain things in place. And it's not because we're irresponsible, but because we don't like to talk about death. Thus, we don't like to deal with it. And so anything that has to do with it, we just kind of like, nope, I'm never going to think about that. I'm never going to talk about that. I'm not, my daughter or my wife said something to me the other day. It's like, do we have we have life insurance on the kids? I was like, on the kids? I was like, on the kids? Why would we ever do that? They're going to outlive us. And my wife was like, yeah, you're right, but they might not, right? And they might not. So if they don't, then one sibling will be blessed because the other sibling, my wife was like, I know you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't ever want to think about that, but it's a reality. Your grandmother, 6 of her, it happens. It can happen to us. And I was like, wow, you're absolutely right. So do me a favor. Let's not run from it anymore. Let's not avoid it. Let's be prepared for it. It's coming. Listen to me. There are not a lot of guarantees in this world. I promise you that. When I tell you they're not, I had friends in high school. I just swore, BFF, brothers for life. I don't know where they are right now. Okay, I don't know what their number is. I've spent money on investments, and I bought property thinking I was going to be in Michigan forever, Alabama forever. I'm in Cali now. The only guarantee in life is that when you come into this world, at some point you leave in this world. And so the one thing that is consistent is the thing that we fear. The one thing that is guaranteed is the one thing that we run away from. And so since we know it's a fact, let us prepare ourselves in ways that we've never prepared ourselves for. Now, before I transition, it's funny. I was talking to a young man who's a part of our community on yesterday. And matter of fact, this morning on the Clubhouse. And he was saying to me, I lost my mom, I lost my grandma. And, there's a lot of self-talk going on, in my routine. I'm angry with God, and things aren't working the way I thought they should work. And, Eric, what do you think I should do? I said, what? I said, you lost your grandma and your mom and you just kept going? I said, that's the problem. I don't care what routine you had. Whatever routine you had, when you lose your grandma and your mom, you're losing social capital. You're losing social capital. You're losing historical capital. Like, you're losing a lot. You're losing wisdom and guidance. You're losing love, and care. Like, there's certain words that you were used to hearing. There's certain events and things that you celebrated. You have taken a great loss, and you're just going to tell me you're just going to keep going to work. You're just going to keep moving. I was like, no, it don't work like that. When we lose somebody, we need grieving coaches. We need to grieve. It's okay. We need to grieve. I don't care if it takes you 6 months, a year. I've heard from some people that, you lose a loved one, you still think about them every single day. You don't because they're not physically present. You don't, and your soul don't lose them. Your soul, they're still there. Their voice is still there. Their memories are still there. And so we've got to grieve. And look, it's okay. I know we've been taught as boys, macho man. You don't cry. Let me tell you something. I'm a grown man. I'm telling you, y'all, I cry so much. I promise you, sometimes I may have to go, in a corner somewhere. Sometimes my wife would be like, what's wrong with you in the middle of the day? And I'm crying. And she's like, what you crying for? What's wrong? I'm like, so-and-so passed. She was like, that was 2 years ago, but I'm still thinking about that individual. Or, the George Floyd, I'm still crying about the fact that they took my man's life and just ripped it away from him, and there's nothing he could do about it. And other grown people watched, and he had, as a grown man living in America, I still cry when I look at that. Then they shot another kid today. I worry for my son. I worry for myself. So I don't go, no, that ain't gonna happen to you. Don't worry about that. No, George Floyd was my brother. George Floyd is like me. So I cry, y'all. The #1 motivational speaker in the world. I feel anger. I feel pain. I feel hurt. I probably feel more now than I felt when I was a teenager, because I was still young and I was letting people tell me that you're not supposed to feel. Now I feel. Sometimes I'll take a bath just so that I can, just like, okay, I gotta push pause on this earth because this place is killing me. And I'll get in there and relax. Or sometimes I'll go in my prayer closet and just get on my face and just cry, just say, God, okay, I know today you blessed me, but it seems like so many people. So listen to me very closely. Get professional help. It's okay. Seek professional help. Get a coach. Get a grief coach. Get a how to love coach, how to feel coach. Get the coach. Get the coach. It's okay. Get a coach and let somebody walk you through it, right? Let somebody walk you through it. Let somebody take you through it. Beautiful. All right.